Welcome back, friends, and a warm hello to those joining us for the first time. You're in a safe, thoughtful space to let an ancient story speak into a modern life. Here's a question to hold as we begin. What happens to a family when longing, comparison, and control start steering the decisions? And how does God keep working when emotions are raw and relationships are strained? Here's a brief background. Jacob has arrived in Haran, married sisters Leah and Rachel through Laban's schemes, and begun building a household. Leah has borne several sons. Rachel, the one Jacob loves most, remains childless. Genesis 30 opens with a home full of tension and desire, where prayers, bargains, and competing plans unfold. By the end of the chapter, children are born, resources shift, and Jacob's future begins to take shape far away from Laban's control. A modern-day reading, Genesis 30. Rachel saw that she wasn't having children while her sister Leah was, and jealousy took root. She said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Jacob became upset and said, "Am I in God's place? He's the one who opens the womb." Rachel said, "Here is my servant Bilhah. Sleep with her so she can bear children for me, and I'll have a family through her." Jacob agreed. Bilhah conceived and bore a son. Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has heard my cry and given me a son," and she named him Dan. Bilhah conceived again and bore a second son. Rachel said, "I've had a great struggle with my sister, and I prevailed." She named him Naphtali. When Leah realized she had stopped bearing children for a time, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah bore a son, and Leah said, "Good fortune has come," so she named him Gad. Zilpah bore a second son, and Leah said, "How happy I am! Women will call me happy." And she named him Asher. During the wheat harvest, Leah's son Reuben found some mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah replied, "Wasn't it enough that you took my husband? Now you want my son's mandrakes too." Rachel said, "Very well. Jacob can sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must be with me tonight. I've hired you with my son's mandrakes." Jacob slept with her, and God listened to Leah. She conceived and bore a fifth son for Jacob. Leah said, "God has given me my wages because I gave my servant to my husband." And she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son. She said, "God has presented me with a precious gift. Now my husband will honor me," and she named him Zebulun. Later, she bore a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and opened her womb. She conceived and gave birth to a son and said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She named him Joseph, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." After Joseph was born, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way so I can return to my homeland. Give me my wives and children, for whom I have served you, and let me go. You know how much work I've done for you." Laban replied, "Please stay. I've learned by divination or observation that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Name your wages. I'll pay them." Jacob said, "You know how I've cared for your flocks and how your livestock has increased under me. The little you had before I came has grown greatly. The Lord has blessed you because of me. But now, when may I provide for my own household?" Laban asked again, "What shall I give you?" Jacob answered, "You don't need to give me anything. Let me go through your flocks today and remove every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every speckled or spotted goat. These will be my wages. My honesty will be clear in the future. Any animal in my possession that isn't speckled, spotted, or dark-colored will be considered stolen." Laban said, "Agreed." But that same day, Laban secretly removed all the streaked and spotted male goats and all the speckled, spotted, and dark-colored sheep, and he placed them in the care of his sons, putting a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob. Jacob stayed and tended the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob then took fresh branches of poplar, almond, and plane trees and peeled white stripes in them, exposing the inner bark. He set the peeled branches in the watering troughs where flocks came to drink and mate. When the animals mated in front of the branches, they produced young that were streaked, speckled, or spotted. Jacob separated these lambs, setting the faces of the flocks toward the streaked and dark ones. He kept his own herds apart, not mixing them with Laban's. Whenever the stronger animals were in heat, Jacob placed the branches in the troughs so they would mate near them and bear young for him. But he didn't place the branches before the weaker animals. So the weak ones went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way, Jacob became exceedingly prosperous, with large flocks, female and male servants, camels, and donkeys. Genesis 30 is honest about human longing. Rachel's ache for a child, Leah's ache to be cherished, Jacob's ache for independence, and Laban's ache for control. Every person is reaching for something good, yet the reaching often becomes bargaining, comparing, and maneuvering. The text doesn't glamorize any of it. Instead, it lets us watch what desire looks like when it isn't yet healed by trust. But there's another thread. God remembered Rachel. God listened to Leah. The language is tender. God doesn't dismiss the ache. He meets it, not always on our timeline or in our way, but with a steady awareness of each person's heart. Leah named sons from her pain. See me, hear me, honor me. And then, as we saw last chapter, learns the language of praise. Rachel's story is slower, and sometimes our slowest prayers are the ones God is quietly preparing us to carry. Joseph's name becomes both gratitude and hope. May the Lord add, not entitlement, but expectancy. And Jacob? He begins to separate from Laban's manipulations. Whatever we make of the breeding method, the point is clear. God is shifting provision. The man who arrived with little now leaves wealthy, not because exploitation wins, but because God moves the story toward freedom. The chapter tells me that God can bless in the middle of messy motives and imperfect methods, and still shape us toward integrity along the way. We've all seen this happen when families carry unspoken comparisons. Siblings measured against each other, spouses negotiating love through scorekeeping, co-workers hustling for scraps of recognition. When value feels scarce, people start trading attention for approval, favors for proximity, even affection for leverage. The result is often what we see here, busyness without peace. We've also seen leaders like Laban, grateful for the blessing someone brings, but reluctant to release control. Promises get made, terms keep changing, and the goalposts move. Yet even then, God finds ways to protect and prosper those who keep showing up with honest work. And then there's Jacob's long obedience. Years of labor before momentum shifts. Many of us know what it's like to serve faithfully while waiting for circumstances to change. Parenting, caregiving, ministry, recovery, entrepreneurship. Genesis 30 says your labor isn't invisible. The God who remembers Rachel and listens to Leah also sees the work of your hands and knows when it's time to move you into a new season. Let this be our wake-up call. Comparison corrodes. When we build a life by measuring ourselves against someone else, we'll bargain away joy. Instead, ask God to heal the ache beneath the comparison, because He doesn't forget the one who feels unseen, unheard, or delayed. Let it also call us to integrity. Resist the urge to secure outcomes through manipulation or constantly shifting terms. Trust God to provide in ways that don't wound the people around you. And if you feel trapped under someone else's control, take heart. God has a way of shifting provision, opening doors, and leading you out at the right time. Question for you. Where do you sense God inviting you to trade comparison and control for trust? And what small, honest step can you take this week? In Genesis 31, the quiet tension breaks open. Laban's sons accuse Jacob of taking what should have been theirs. Laban's attitude shifts, and God tells Jacob, "Go back to the land of your fathers, and I will be with you." We'll watch a midnight departure, a heated confrontation, and a boundary set at last. It's a chapter about leaving well, setting limits, and learning that peace sometimes requires distance. Don't miss it. Thanks for spending this time in Genesis 30. If today's chapter named a place of longing or comparison in your life, let it become a place of prayer. God remembers. God listens. Carry that with you this week. If this helped you, please like the episode so others can find it. Share a takeaway in the comments. I'd love to hear your small, honest step. Subscribe for more chapter-by-chapter readings, and share this with someone who needs hope in a complicated season. I'm grateful to walk this journey with you. Talk to you soon.